Hi there, Sugar Snaps. If you want to make your own custom note cards or holiday cards, I have the tutorial for you. Here I have some examples of note cards that I made using a wreath block print as well as a word block print, and I chose the word joy. So I have this block print here as well as this wreath block print. Here are some different colors of this print on note cards. So I have the ink color is black on all of these, and then my cardstock color is different for each. And you can see the difference that makes on the design depending on how bright or how much contrast there is with the color of the paper and the color of ink that you're using. So the tools and materials you will need are in the description below. Check those out for a complete list of all the resources you need for this project. I am using a smooth surface cardstock for my cards, and I'm going to be cutting them out to a custom size. So to create these cards, I'm going to fold my paper so that the outside or the right side of the card is facing out like you would have it for a card. And then I'm going to trim this down on my paper cutter to the right size. So I'll cut down that long edge so that it's in half, and then measure off the length that I want the card, line that up, and trim that down. So now I have my card ready to go. You can do this for however many cards you want, or you can purchase a package of pre-folded envelopes with matching cards. Once your cards are prepared and you're ready to start block printing, you can set up your ink palette. For the ink palette, I like to spread a bit of the ink across the center of my ink palette. And I'm using Blick printing ink. This is a water-soluble ink, so I can wash it and clean up in water. And then using my brayer, I'm going to roll this out to create an even layer of ink over the surface of my paint or ink palette. If you have too much ink, it will cause that glopping effect. So you want to roll it out to make a nice layer until it's as even as possible. When working on a small project like this, I like to have a small work surface of batting with a piece of scrap paper on top that I can put my block on and then print on the paper. With this wreath, the size of the wreath it's kind of floppy and it's rather large. So I'm going to put the print onto my work surface and then lay the card onto the inked block, and then use my burnisher to transfer the design to the card. This will make it a little bit easier to handle and process the inking and stamping. If you're working with a block that's smaller, say you have something more this size, then I would lay your card on your surface and then place your block print wherever you want on the surface, so you have a little bit more control of the placement. When you're going face down onto something this small, it can be hard to navigate where you're going. With the larger blocks, it works best to lay it flat down because usually larger blocks will fill your space more, and so you won't have to be as particular where the placement is. So I'm going to lay my large block in place and roll my inked brayer over the surface to fill it with ink. And then take one of my note cards, lay it over the surface, kind of gauging where I want the bottom and the top of the design to fit, and making sure I'm orienting it so that when it opens, the side that I want facing forward is the side I'm printing. So I'm going to set this in place. Once you set it in place, it's kind of established and you've decided. If you lift up, it'll smudge the design. So set it in place and then use your burnishing tool to rub over the surface of the paper onto the block so that you help the ink to transfer to the paper. And I'm just gently rubbing around the design to transfer that ink. And then I'll grab a corner and carefully but firmly lift up. And there is my transfer design. I'll set that aside to start drying while I print the other wreaths on my other cards, and then we'll move to the word print. Between prints, I suggest reloading your block with ink. If you notice on previous prints that the ink was kind of gloppy or too thick, you can print a second print without reapplying ink because there's probably enough ink on the block already. But generally speaking, you want to refill it between prints so that there's enough ink to get a clear, crisp print. Okay, now I'm going to move the wreath over and this time place my card onto my work surface and ink up my word block. And then place this wherever it is that I want it on the design. And I want it here in the center. I'm going to press that in place and then lift straight up. And there is the transfer of that block print. And that's how to print note cards or print on cardstock. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified whenever I put out a new video. And I really appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. It means a lot. Happy block printing. See you next time.